Get informed at contentdelaware.org.
So we're pleased to have Carol Post with us today from the Delaware Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you, John. This is a great opportunity for us.
Could you tell us a bit about the Delaware Coalition Against Domestic Violence?
I'd love to. The coalition was founded in 1994, so we're 16 plus years old, and I've been there the entire time. I'm one of the founding folks that put the coalition together. State coalitions against domestic violence provide lots of services in our states. In Delaware, we are a leader in the training that goes on around domestic violence. We do a lot of public education and information work. We are critically involved in systems advocacy, so trying to make sure that law enforcement policies, court policies serve the victims of domestic violence in our state. We also do a lot of work with our legislators, both at the state level and at the and in Congress, to make sure that there's funding for programs that provide services, so shelters and other kinds of services for victims of domestic violence.
People don't really understand what domestic violence is, and it can be as simple, it can be expressed in as simple a manner as someone speaking derogatorily about someone, and behind closed doors, those derogatory comments become physical abuse.
And I mean, how we view domestic violence in our organization, it's really intimate partner violence. That's what we focus on. So how intimate partner violence affects both the victims, the children that may be in that home, and the perpetrators of that violence. We see everybody in the community as being affected by domestic violence. You know, if you think about the statistics, 1 in 4 women will experience abuse in her lifetime. The National Network to End Domestic Violence does a point-in-time study each year, a one-day count. In Delaware, in September, during the one-day count, 223 victims and children were served by the domestic violence shelters and programs in our state in just one day. When we look at annually, about 14,000 law enforcement officers go out to answer calls during 1 year. So that's an average. So we really see this as a problem that affects all folks in our communities, and it's going to take all of us to address the issue of domestic violence, and hence things like activities like the 15 Men to really try to get men engaged in ending the problem of domestic violence. Too often we think of this as a women's issue, as something that women work on. We really need men in our community to be working on this too.
So we're about breaking the cycle, because it is a cycle.
Yes.
And
so there's a lot of interest in trying to figure out how to prevent domestic violence, and the work that we're doing around understanding what happens when children witness domestic violence in the home, what's the work that we can do in our communities to change the values and the mores that people have around the use of violence, around gender, around what causes domestic violence, really thinking about how we talk to the media about portrayals of violence, of the roles of men and women, and how we might change that interaction and that presentation to reflect healthy relationships, values that we all hold in terms of showing the love that we have for folks, not using violence when we have disagreements. I'm not thinking that we should have power and control other people in our families that we care about.
so how can the public be engaged and help?
Well, there are actually lots of ways the public can be engaged. On our website, which is at dcadv.org, you can find a list of 15 things you can do to help stop domestic violence. And some of it is just thinking about your own behavior. Are there ways in which you talk in a sexist way or encourage violence in a way that would encourage boys to use violence, for example? Get your church to have somebody come in and do a talk on domestic violence. Think about how to get involved with helping schools deal with kids who are engaging in bullying behavior, which is a precursor to domestic violence. Lots of different ways. can join the coalition. We love to have new members who support our mission, want to be part of the coalition. We have volunteers who come in and help. We don't do direct service, but we do public education, resource tables, lots of different things that volunteers can help us do. We can also help people find ways to volunteer within direct service programs if they would like to be able to do that. We want folks engaged. We want help. Because we would really like to end this problem. And to put all those resources we talked about back into other ways of supporting the community.
Well, you've gone a long way in your 16 years of making an impact, and we certainly appreciate the work that you've done.
Thank you, John.